if the longer painting does not carry that same energy, I'm wasting my time. We have the palette all laid out, and it should be a matter of being able to just kind of place the painting where we need to put it. So I'm going to do the same thing Chris did earlier. I'm going to kind of maximize space, and I'm also thinking about things compositionally in the scheme of the notan, right? I think very similarly to Chris, but I tend to look at things in kind of like sort of a boxy way of categorizing where things go. So I'm sort of seeing, we've got the vase right here, the vase right here in art class, or in art school for God's sake. We've got the red mug down here. There's some cast shadow going with it that's gonna carry back over here. We have the green mug getting overlapped, and it sort of literally sits a little bit higher. And from my perspective, if the vase is right here, then the top of the apple is just a little bit lower. So I'm looking at these things as a unit that I'm then going to, I see, when I was talking earlier about kind of chroma and light, chroma and dark, I see chroma in the lights more than the darks. So I'm gonna find this mudda color that Chris so beautifully mixed. And I'm doing a squint, and I'm gonna put things in, I want a little bit more juice here. I'm gonna put things in where I'm really linking stuff together. So I'm seeing shadow of the apple and the mug and our art school vase all going together. I'm putting a little bit more conviction in terms of density of color into these two objects because they just happen to be a little darker. But you might feel compelled to like fill the whole thing in. You might feel compelled to just give yourself enough information to move forward.
Yep. And squint to like understand those relationships of light and dark.
So I'm seeing this mug, right? We look at the mug on the table and we see, you know, something that is leaning more towards a fire truck perhaps, but it's like in this palette, this kind of dark brick red color feels right to me. And I'm gonna just fully adopt the fact that that's all one unit. The vase itself is quite blue. I'm gonna give it some specificity in a little bit, but I'm gonna start to lean it, and I'm looking at this pressure, what I like to describe, in between those two objects, where it's like, okay, if I put this in as just a solid shape to start, how does that pressure between those two colors feel to me? Does it feel too strong, not strong enough, etc.? I've got these knowns to get a feel for this green in this mug that I'm gonna then shift up slightly. And then I'm gonna change gears a little bit, and I just want to feel out. I don't know if I love that. Neutralize it a little bit more.
You said neutralize it?
Neutral, yeah, it was a little too yellowy.
Okay, so
And
you painted over it with what to neutralize
I brought in some of the blue burnt sienna mud that was mixing with the green down in the darks
Yeah,
here
okay,
to
okay.
bring that yellow. Think of it as like a color that's got rubber bands hooked to different places. It's like they can only stretch so far, so you start pulling some in one direction so that it moves it all over a little bit. And then
So remember, we're focusing on value and temperature because we may not be fully equipped to make the exact colors that we want.
yep, he caught me right in that moment where I put a color down where I was in my head naming it for a second, and it's like, it's not the mindset. That's not the mindset. So, all right, so now I'm at the point, I've done a good job of kind of putting in the things around here, but they really don't mean anything unless I can get some of this outside color figured out. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting a mixture, a generic kind of cool light I'm kind of putting it in a handful of places, not because I want the background to all be one color. I'm putting it in a handful of places because I know it's going to adjust from here to there. So there's going to be places where there's really strong opportunity to go lighter and cooler and really pop a shape. And then there's going to be places where when it feels a little bit softer and the edge doesn't quite have as much like visual abrasion to me, that I can like darken it down and it'll just settle it in a little bit more. And then I might even find that there's a moment that this, you know, gray, greenish kind of color can sit eventually as a nice little reflected light. Looks so dark down here and it actually feels light on that object. I need some of this really nice color you made in the middle here to, just gonna kind of, doing kind of like a field test on this. I want it to be a little bit bluer, a little bit darker, so I'm pulling down. And in this case, I'm just gonna squint at this and let this object tell me where that edge of that shape visually sits. We're talking about flat shapes here. Move over to the other side real quick. I can bring in some darker, slightly warmer color to sit in here. Now this is where things get kind of tricky, like just in this particular object. I want to spend a little bit of time kind of investing some energy in this object so you can sort of see my process. We've got dark blue. In this case, we have black. And then we go a little bit lighter and a little bit warmer. And that's where we get kind of this next layer of light that exists in here.
We should throw in more of this in there.
I'm not finished. Yes, he's right. All right. Then from there, I can see there's sort of kind of a layer of gray that goes cooler again, that I'm gonna kind of just, like he was saying, the bristles are not actually touching the paint touching the surface all that much there. And then there's an opportunity for a light, warm, highlight that can sit on top of that. You know, when I squint at this, a little too aggressive. Not bad if I give myself a better I think David LaFell would say, just let it go into the shadow. I need some of this green. Whoops. Too light. Coming back over.
Mm-hmm. See how he moved it into the dark to make it darker. You should shift it back and forth.
And I'm just gonna keep squinting at it. I want the same type of distance and color to kind of happen. It's a pressure thing that I'm sort of describing. The red is more orange in the light, right? I can even create sort of a middle ground red that just kind of curves that over. It sort of exists in here too. I think I need to reaffirm some of those more violet looking shadows that exist in here. And I'm gonna for the sake of time, really cake in light. And maybe even give myself just a little. You didn't see that?
I saw that. I was so happy to see that.
Right. More like it than it's not, right? I can kind of keep pushing this. I will say, admittedly, from a temperament standpoint, Chris is better at the quicker decision-making process early on, where it's like if we were given the same amount of time, he can just advance it further. It's very deliberate decision-making. And for me, like I hone drawing, there's a lot of words shooting in the head, right? But it's like, okay, this is effectively a good description of what's going on there. And from that, I could either refine it, I could use it as information, I can call it good and say this is a great quick statement, right? I've got options for that. But I think we were mentioning in one of the breaks too that it's, let's say I was gonna use this as study and I was gonna do another painting after this that was 100 hours on this still life, right? If it does not carry the kind of genuine, honest observation and energy that I've captured, because there's something unimpeachable about what I've captured here that is true to what I'm seeing. And if the longer painting does not carry that same energy, I'm wasting my time. I'm getting distracted somewhere that is not in the service of the true essence of what this provides in the short period of time that we made it. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, get back to work.